The world stood still as Oprah finally broke her silence on Diddy. In a chilling reveal, she hinted at something so shocking it's left fans reeling. As whispers turn to shouts and headlines explode, the truth behind Oprah's bombshell statement is about to be laid bare. Stay with us as we uncover the explosive details that have rocked the entertainment world. The world of celebrity gossip was jolted awake on an otherwise sleepy Monday morning when Oprah Winfrey, queen of daytime television and beloved cultural icon, dropped a cryptic bombshell on her social media platforms. A simple black background with white text, no hashtags, no tags, no links, just a single statement. There's a truth the world needs to hear, and I'm ready to share it. Within seconds, her followers erupted in a frenzy of speculation. The post's simplicity only magnified its gravity. Oprah, known for her measured words and decades-long presence as a voice of reason, didn't post anything lightly. She was not one for stunts or mind games. So if she was hinting at a truth, people listened. The internet did what it did best. Screenshots, retweets, and feverish discussions flooded the timelines. Her cryptic message became an instant viral sensation, dominating the Twitter trending list within minutes. Across town, Diddy's team was jolted into action. The message wasn't even an hour old when calls were made and crisis meetings convened. No one could afford to ignore Oprah's words, especially not someone as high-profile as Diddy, who had cultivated an image of unwavering confidence and success. His team issued a brief, guarded statement to the press. Sean Combs has not received any direct communication from Ms. Winfrey. We are monitoring the situation closely. But the carefully chosen words did little to calm the storm that was brewing. The speculation machine shifted into overdrive. News anchors on morning shows like Good Morning America and Today debated what Oprah could possibly be hinting at. Was it a long-buried secret from the past? A business feud? Or something more personal? Each outlet scrambled to find an angle, desperate to be the first with the scoop. Even the tabloids, usually dismissed by Oprah's fans, joined the circus, rehashing every public interaction between the two over the years. By noon, the story had outgrown even its celebrity origins. Business analysts began weighing in on what a public feud with Oprah could mean for Diddy's empire. Stocks in Revolt TV, the music network he helped launch, dipped slightly. Major brand partners watched carefully from the sidelines, while PR firms drafted talking points in case the fallout turned nuclear. Meanwhile, Oprah remained silent. She didn't post again, nor did she clarify what the truth was. Instead, she let the speculation simmer like a pot left to boil. People dissected her phrasing. Was it a personal betrayal she was referring to? Or did it have something to do with the bigger cultural landscape she'd so often championed? In that vacuum of certainty, social media turned into a carnival of half-truths and wild guesses. Diddy's fans defended him passionately. His name had been associated with endless success, music hits, record labels, vodka brands. Why would Oprah, of all people, target him now? It's just another ploy for attention, some argued on Twitter. Others wondered if there had always been a hidden tension between the mogul and the talk show queen. After all, they both occupied rarefied air in the entertainment world. Was this the spark of a power struggle? For those closest to the drama, it was a day of hushed phone calls and backroom strategizing. Publicists drafted statements, managers reached out to trusted journalists, and lawyers began weighing what might come next. In celebrity culture, the why was always less important than the what's next, and in this case, the what's next promised to be explosive. By evening, Oprah's post had been shared millions of times across platforms, from Facebook to TikTok. Her Instagram comments section was a mess of conspiracy theories, words of support, and frantic questions. "Tell us, Oprah," fans pleaded. "We're listening." But she said nothing more that night. She let her silence do the talking, each hour that passed only intensifying the anticipation. Diddy, for his part, was spotted leaving his Manhattan apartment with an uncharacteristically grim expression. The paparazzi shouted questions, but he kept his head down. He was known for his bravado, for turning controversies into opportunities. But today was different. Oprah's words had landed like a thunderclap, and everyone could feel it. By the time the sun set, the world was divided into two camps, those who believed Oprah had a bombshell to drop, and those who believed it was all smoke and mirrors. But everyone agreed on one thing: whatever this truth was, it was going to change everything. As the sun rose the next day, the media landscape had transformed into a battlefield of headlines and hot takes. Every major network ran with the story, and every blog, no matter how small, wanted in on the action. It wasn't just about the cryptic message anymore, it was about the implications, the history, and the tantalizing mystery that had captured the public's imagination. Morning talk shows turned the topic into a roundtable debate. On Good Morning America, they played a loop of Oprah's Instagram post while a panel of pundits dissected her wording. "What does she mean by a truth the world needs to hear?" one host asked, her tone hushed but urgent. "Is this a personal matter, or something bigger, maybe even a social issue?" No one had answers, but everyone had theories. On social media, hashtags began to appear and multiply like wildfire. #Oprah Speaks became a rallying cry for those who believed she was about to expose something profound. #DidntTruth trended alongside it, a digital tug-of-war that saw fans of both celebrities stake their ground. Instagram stories, TikTok reels, and Twitter threads dissected every clue, every interaction the two had shared over the years. The fans weren't the only ones hooked. Celebrity gossip channels on YouTube churned out hour-long breakdowns, complete with clickbait titles and ominous background music. Old photos and video clips of Oprah and Diddy together at award shows were unearthed and scrutinized for hidden meaning. Had there always been tension? Was there a falling out they'd kept under wraps? Oprah's and Diddy's social media pages were flooded with comments. Oprah's supporters praised her courage, calling her a truth-teller and a warrior for justice. Diddy's fans, meanwhile, were defensive and combative, determined to protect the reputation of the music mogul they adored. "She's stirring the pot for no reason," one tweet read. "Diddy's done nothing but build his empire and support the culture." Others argued that Oprah wouldn't speak unless she had a reason. "She's seen too much to stay quiet," a supporter countered. In the midst of it all, Diddy's team worked overtime to manage the chaos. His PR rep appeared on a popular news show, insisting, "Sean Combs has always operated with integrity. We urge everyone to be patient and not jump to conclusions based on a vague post." But even as the words left his mouth, the camera cut to a split screen of Oprah's solemn post, a stark reminder that in the age of social media, even the most carefully crafted statements struggled to control the narrative. Meanwhile, the story had caught the attention of cultural commentators and academics. On a popular podcast, a media scholar argued that this was about more than two celebrities, it was about the shifting landscape of fame and power in the digital age. "Oprah is a trusted voice," she said. "When she speaks, people believe her. And when Diddy's name is involved, the stakes are high." It was a moment that blurred the lines between entertainment and cultural commentary, gossip and serious debate. The frenzy didn't stop at the digital world. Newsstands were filled with tabloids running screaming headlines. Oprah's shocking claims. What does she know? And Diddy in crisis? The empire at risk. Supermarket checkout lanes became battlegrounds of rumor, the glossy covers reflecting a world where celebrity drama had become as vital as any political story. Yet for all the noise, Oprah herself remained silent. She didn't post again, nor did she appear in public. Her silence only made her original statement more powerful, like an echo that refused to fade. Every hour that passed without clarification was another hour for speculation to fester and grow. As night fell on the second day, the world was still buzzing. On live streams, fans counted down to what they hoped would be an update from Oprah. Comment sections turned into digital town squares, with people demanding answers or crafting elaborate conspiracy theories. The truth, whatever it was, seemed just out of reach, yet tantalizingly close. But amid the whirlwind of speculation, one thing was certain. Oprah had captured the world's attention. And until she decided to speak again, no one, not even Diddy, could wrestle it back. 3 days after her cryptic post shook the entertainment world, Oprah emerged from the shadows and made an unexpected appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. She sat across from Colbert, a calm but determined expression on her face, the studio lights reflecting off her signature glasses. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation as the audience fell silent, everyone waiting to see if this was the moment she'd reveal what lay behind her enigmatic words. Colbert, known for his gentle wit and ability to cut to the heart of any story, wasted no time. "Oprah," he said with a warm but serious smile, "the world has been talking about your post. Can you give us a hint of what's going on?" Oprah took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering. "Stephen," she began, "I've always believed in the power of truth. And sometimes, truth can be uncomfortable. But it can also be freeing." She spoke slowly, each word deliberate, as if she was choosing them from a vast library of possibilities. The audience hung on every syllable, and so did the millions watching at home. Colbert leaned forward. "Are you talking about something personal? Or is this bigger than that?" A flicker of hesitation crossed Oprah's face, but she quickly composed herself. It's both, she said. I've seen things that troubled me deeply. Things that I can't ignore anymore. Her voice was calm, but there was a weight behind it that sent chills down the audience's spines. Colbert's brow furrowed, his usually playful demeanor giving way to genuine curiosity. Are you saying this involves Diddy? He asked, his tone careful. Oprah didn't answer directly. Instead, she shifted in her seat, her hands resting on the armrests like an anchor. I'm saying there are truths that deserve to be known, she said, her voice firm. And that's all I can say, for now. The silence that followed was almost deafening. The camera cut to the audience, who looked stunned and confused, their faces a mirror of the millions watching around the world. Colbert, ever the professional, broke the tension with a soft chuckle. Well, you've certainly given us something to think about, he said. But even his trademark charm couldn't soften the edges of what had just been said. Backstage, producers scrambled to make sense of Oprah's carefully chosen words. Clips of the interview were cut and uploaded within minutes, flooding the internet. Social media exploded. Every phrase, every pause, was dissected by fans and critics alike. She's seen things. She can't ignore them. The theories grew wilder and wilder, each more elaborate than the last. In living rooms across the country, friends and families debated what Oprah's words meant. Was she talking about something criminal? Something personal? The more she left unsaid, the more powerful the mystery became. She hadn't even mentioned Diddy's name explicitly, but the implication was there, heavy and undeniable. Overnight, news channels looped the interview on repeat. Experts in body language were brought on to analyze Oprah's every gesture. Notice how she kept her hands steady, one analyst said on a primetime news segment. That suggests she's calm, certain of what she knows. She's not just making this up. Meanwhile, Diddy's team was in damage control mode. They released a statement that same night, reiterating that Mr. Combs has not been made aware of any concerns expressed by Ms. Winfrey, nor does he know what these alleged truths might be. But the words rang hollow against the gravity of Oprah's presence on national television. She didn't need to name names. Her reputation and the weight of her voice did all the heavy lifting. For Oprah, the interview was a carefully choreographed first step, just enough to show she was serious, but not enough to reveal everything. As she walked off the stage and into the night, she knew she had set a fire that couldn't be put out. She had given the world just enough to keep them guessing, to keep them watching. And for everyone else, one thing was clear: Oprah had something to say, and she wasn't going to be silenced. Whatever came next, it would be on her terms. The morning after Oprah's explosive interview, Diddy's team was already in high gear. His publicist, Marcus Grant, had barely slept, spending the night drafting and redrafting a statement that could calm the rising storm. At 8 a.m. sharp, they released it across every major platform. Sean Combs categorically denies any wrongdoing or behavior that could be construed as harmful. We stand by our record of integrity and creativity, and we encourage everyone to wait for the facts. But the carefully worded statement did little to slow the tidal wave of speculation. Fans and critics alike pounced on every nuance. Some saw it as the voice of an innocent man pushed to defend himself, others as the calculated deflection of someone who had something to hide. The statement's final line, "Wait for the facts," became a rallying cry for Diddy supporters, but it also left a vacuum for conspiracy theories to thrive. Diddy himself remained out of sight, but his social media accounts were suddenly more active than ever. A new post showed him in the studio, headphones on, head down, business as usual. The caption read simply, "Focused on the music. Nothing else." It was an attempt to project normalcy, a reminder that he was, above all, a creator. Yet the timing felt deliberate, even forced, as if he was trying too hard to look unfazed. Meanwhile, the media machine devoured the story with relentless appetite. Talk shows debated the statement's tone and content. Was it a sincere plea for fairness, or an artful dodge? On The View, the hosts were divided. "He's just trying to protect his legacy," said one. "But why doesn't he address Oprah directly?" another countered. The conversation played out in real time on social media, with fans and critics weighing in from every corner of the internet. The tension between Diddy and Oprah became front-page news. Newspapers that usually covered politics or business ran banner headlines, "Diddy versus Oprah, the truth war begins." Editorials debated the broader implications, how two of the most influential black voices in American culture could find themselves on opposite sides of a story that no one fully understood yet. For some, it was a personal betrayal. For others, it was a battle over power and accountability. Behind the scenes, Diddy's legal team was working overtime. Lawyers reviewed every past interaction between him and Oprah, every contract, every appearance they'd made together. They were ready to issue cease and desist letters to any outlet that dared to claim Diddy was guilty of wrongdoing without evidence. But even the threat of legal action couldn't slow the online wildfire. In the court of public opinion, silence was often seen as guilt, and denial as evasion. Despite the chaos, Diddy was determined to show strength. He arranged a private dinner with a few trusted friends and advisors at a quiet restaurant in Manhattan. There, away from cameras and microphones, he vented his frustration. "Why would she do this?" he asked, his voice low but urgent. No one had an answer. Some urged him to sue for defamation, but others warned that it would only fuel the narrative further. "People love a fight," one friend said. "If you go after her, it'll only make them think there's something to hide." So Diddy did what he did best. He performed. The next day, he was seen at a charity gala, flashing his famous smile and posing for photos. He took the stage briefly to speak about the power of community and resilience, his words carefully chosen, his demeanor calm and confident. But underneath the charm, there was an undeniable edge, a hint of defiance in his eyes that hadn't been there before. The public watched, divided. Some believed Diddy was the victim of an unfounded smear campaign, orchestrated by someone who should have been an ally. Others believed that Oprah, with her gravitas and history of championing truth, wouldn't speak unless she had a reason. The debate played out endlessly, an echo chamber of opinion and suspicion. For now, Diddy's countermove was clear. Control the narrative, show confidence, and hope the storm would pass. But as the days went on, it became increasingly clear that the storm was only just beginning. As the days turned into a week, the world was no closer to an answer. But that didn't stop people from digging. Investigative journalists, gossip bloggers, and armchair detectives online turned their focus from the statements to the history that Oprah and Diddy shared. They combed through archives, old interviews, and grainy event photos in search of clues. One name kept surfacing: the 2017 Dream Gala, a star-studded affair hosted in Los Angeles to raise money for underprivileged youth. Photos from that night resurfaced on Twitter, Oprah and Diddy, smiling side by side, flanked by other celebrities. At first glance, it looked like just another glitzy evening in Hollywood. But those photos became the focal point of countless theories. Was that the night something happened? Was there a disagreement, a private conversation that changed everything? Online forums buzzed with speculation. Some noted that after that night, Oprah and Diddy were rarely seen together in public. No more shared appearances on talk shows, no more co-hosted charity events. The shift was subtle, but to those determined to find a connection, it was all the proof they needed. Social media sleuths compiled timelines and collages, drawing lines between events that once seemed unrelated. News outlets seized on the growing narrative. Magazine covers blared headlines like "Oprah and Diddy, a rift years in the making." Inside, articles traced their relationship in painstaking detail, from early collaborations to those last, increasingly distant interactions. Every shared stage and every carefully choreographed red carpet smile was re-examined, no longer just celebrity fluff but potential clues in a deeper story. Podcasts that usually covered politics or pop culture pivoted to the Oprah-Diddy saga. On one popular show, a journalist claimed to have spoken to a source who attended the Dream Gala that night. "I can't say what was said," the voice on the podcast murmured, but there was definitely tension. You could feel it in the air. The internet devoured the story, even if it was little more than hearsay. Meanwhile, old videos of Oprah and Diddy from years past went viral. Clips of them laughing together at award shows, or praising each other's work, became uncomfortable viewing in light of recent events. "Look at the way she's looking at him," one TikTok commentator said, freeze-framing a video from 2014. "That's not just a casual look. She knew something." The rumors reached fever pitch when a former event planner anonymously claimed that Oprah and Diddy had clashed at a private party years ago, supposedly over a heated conversation about the music industry and ethics. No one could confirm if the story was real, but it didn't matter. In the court of public opinion, every new detail added another layer to the growing narrative. Behind the scenes, Diddy's team worked frantically to quash the stories. Lawyers sent out letters warning of lawsuits for slander and defamation. But the letters only added fuel to the fire. Why threaten legal action if there was nothing to hide? Oprah's team, meanwhile, maintained a dignified silence, refusing to comment on any of the emerging claims. It was a strategy that worked in her favor, making her appear calm and measured while the world around her churned with speculation. The deeper the world dug, the more it seemed that there was indeed a hidden history, a rift that had quietly grown over years. Fans and journalists alike were caught in a feverish cycle of discovery and doubt, driven by the need to know what had happened behind closed doors. And still, the two central figures remained silent. Oprah's social media feeds were still, no new posts to clarify or stoke the flames. Diddy's accounts were filled with carefully curated glimpses of his work and life, a glossy image that no longer matched the rumors swirling around him. In the end, the truth remained elusive. But the connections unearthed, real or imagined, had taken on a life of their own. The world was no longer just waiting for answers, it was demanding them. And as the whispers grew louder, it became clear that neither Oprah nor Diddy could stay silent much longer. After days of silence that felt like an eternity, Oprah reappeared. She didn't hold a press conference or sit down with a news anchor. Instead, she took to her own platform, Oprah Daily, where her voice couldn't be distorted or taken out of context. A short video clip, just under 3 minutes long, appeared on her site and social media accounts. It was shot in a simple, warmly lit room, Oprah seated alone, her expression grave but composed. She spoke softly, but each word carried the weight of everything left unsaid. "I know the world has been waiting," she began, her voice even and deliberate. "I've been waiting too, to find the right moment and the right words." She paused, drawing in a steady breath. Now is that moment. She didn't name Diddy directly, but the implication was as clear as the air after a storm. "I've witnessed things that have haunted me," she said, her eyes unblinking as she looked directly into the camera. "Moments that, in good conscience, I can no longer keep to myself." Her words sent an immediate shiver down the collective spine of everyone watching. In those few sentences, she confirmed what so many had been whispering about. She had seen something that changed everything. The clip was intentionally vague, but that only made it more powerful. She didn't share details, no names, no dates, no explicit accusations. But she spoke of a moment of betrayal, of something so egregious it demanded light be shed upon it. She spoke like someone unburdening a weight she'd carried alone for too long. Within minutes, the internet erupted. News channels cut to breaking coverage of Oprah's clip. Commentators tried to parse her every word, debating whether she was talking about a personal betrayal or a professional one. Social media turned into a digital storm. The #Oprah reveals shot to the top of Twitter's trending topics, videos of her clip spreading like wildfire across TikTok and Instagram. On Reddit, a popular thread titled "What Did Oprah See?" exploded with theories. Some users argued she was talking about an incident in the music industry, a moment when Diddy crossed a line that couldn't be forgiven. Others suggested it was something deeper, more personal, perhaps something that had weighed on her for years. In the absence of specifics, everyone filled the gaps with their own imaginations. Meanwhile, Diddy's team went into full panic mode. They released a news statement within hours, calling Oprah's claims dangerous and unfounded, and vowing to explore all legal options to protect Mr. Combs' reputation. But even the threat of lawsuits felt hollow compared to Oprah's calm, unwavering tone. She wasn't making wild accusations or airing grievances, she was speaking from a place of deep conviction. That made her words all the more powerful. Supporters of Oprah flooded her comment sections with messages of solidarity. "We believe you," they wrote. "Thank you for speaking your truth." In a world so often driven by cynicism, Oprah's sincerity was her strongest weapon. She didn't need to shout or point fingers, her quiet dignity was enough. But for Diddy, the clip was a ticking time bomb. The lack of details left room for endless speculation that threatened to swallow his entire empire. Business partners and brand sponsors watched nervously, wary of being caught in the crossfire. Some quietly paused campaigns or postponed events, unwilling to take a side until the dust settled. In boardrooms and living rooms alike, the same question was on everyone's lips: what did Oprah see? And if she was telling the truth, what did that mean for Diddy and everything he'd built? As the sun set that day, the entertainment world felt forever changed. Oprah's clip was brief, but its impact was seismic. In under 3 minutes, she'd shifted the balance of power, forcing a reckoning that no one, not even Diddy, could ignore. The world was no longer content with hints and half-truths. They wanted the full story, and they wanted it now. And as Oprah signed off, her eyes steady and unyielding, it was clear she wasn't done. She'd only just begun. In the days following Oprah's bombshell video, the world held its breath, waiting for Diddy to respond directly. But he didn't. No interviews, no videos, no personal statements, just an icy silence that only deepened the sense of unease. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a refusal to engage that felt like either defiance or quiet panic. For Diddys' inner circle, this was the nightmare scenario. His closest advisors urged him to speak up, to refute Oprah's claims with confidence. "You need to control the narrative," his publicist Marcus said, his voice taut with urgency. "If you don't talk, people will assume the worst." But Diddy shook his head, his jaw set. "I'm not giving her the satisfaction," he muttered. "Let it die down. It always does." But this time was different. The world wasn't moving on, it was doubling down. Every hour that passed without a response seemed to confirm the darkest theories. The hashtags #WhatDidOprah and #DiddySpeaks began trending side by side, two halves of a digital conversation that grew louder with each passing day. Behind the scenes, the fallout had already begun. Several brands with lucrative partnerships, vodka companies, fashion labels, streaming platforms, started to quietly distance themselves. Officially, they said they were monitoring the situation. But the message was clear: Oprah's words had shaken the very foundation of Diddys' empire. One of the first to act was a major sportswear brand that had previously collaborated with Diddy on a high-profile campaign. They issued a statement of their own. "We take any allegations or concerns regarding our partners seriously. While we have not been presented with any formal evidence, we are suspending future collaborations until further notice." In the boardrooms of corporate America, brand protection was paramount, and no one wanted to be caught in the crossfire of an unresolved scandal. As for Oprah, she remained steady and silent, her words from the video echoing like a haunting refrain. She didn't need to say anything more, her reputation spoke for her. And as the days turned into a week, her supporters grew louder, rallying behind her with a fervor that transcended celebrity loyalty. "Oprah has never lied to us," one fan posted on Instagram. "If she says she saw something, I believe her." Diddys fans, meanwhile, were in a state of stunned confusion. Some doubled down on their loyalty, flooding his posts with messages of support and dismissing Oprah's claims as a personal vendetta. But others, once staunch defenders, began to waver. "I want to believe him," one longtime fan tweeted, "but why isn't he saying anything? Why won't he at least deny it himself?" The world was shifting around him, and Diddy could feel it. Friends who once called every day fell silent. Invitations to industry events dried up overnight. In the competitive world of entertainment, reputation was currency, and Diddys was losing value fast. And yet, he still refused to speak. In private moments, he confided to those closest to him that he wouldn't dignify half-truths and rumors with a response. "If I say something, they'll twist it," he told a confidant one night over drinks. "I'd rather let them talk and wear themselves out." But outside the walls of his penthouse, the noise only grew. Talk shows and podcasts debated whether silence was a sign of guilt or a calculated strategy. News anchors speculated about what kind of legal or financial fallout might come next. The world was waiting, and Diddys' silence was no longer enough to protect him. In the end, it wasn't just about Oprah or Diddy anymore. It was about the culture of celebrity itself, the way the truth, or even the hint of it, could upend entire empires overnight. For those watching from the sidelines, it was a spectacle of power and vulnerability, played out in real time for the whole world to see. As the days turned into weeks, one thing became clear: silence had become its own kind of statement. And in the vacuum it left behind, the world was forced to draw its own conclusions. 2 weeks after the story first erupted, Oprah returned to her own stage, her platform, her voice, her terms. In a live broadcast streamed across every device and platform imaginable, she sat under soft lights, the set warm and inviting, yet charged with a gravity that no one could ignore. Dressed simply in a navy blue blazer, she looked directly at the camera, her face composed, her eyes clear. "Tonight," she said in her calm, measured voice, "I'm going to share the full truth." There was no fanfare, no dramatic music or guest interviews, just Oprah, speaking to the world as if she was speaking to a single, trusted friend. She began with a story: how years ago, she had found herself at a party in Hollywood, surrounded by laughter and music, but also by moments that made her skin crawl. She described a moment of discomfort, a glimpse of something she could no longer unsee. She didn't name names outright, but the details, the location, the timeline, were unmistakable. "I saw something that night," she said, her voice steady but her eyes glistening. "Something that went beyond a personal betrayal. It was a betrayal of trust, of decency." She paused, as if to let the weight of her words settle into the room. "I've carried that moment with me for years," she continued. "I kept quiet because I believed it wasn't my story to tell. But silence can be complicity, and I will not be complicit any longer." The world listened, rapt and breathless. Her story was not a sensational expose but a calm, deliberate recounting of a moment that had shifted everything she believed. She spoke about the responsibility of those with power, how turning away from what is wrong, no matter how uncomfortable, only allows harm to continue. She ended her speech with a simple, powerful message. "I share this tonight because I believe in accountability. Because I believe that the truth, even when it's painful, can set us free." When the camera cut, the internet exploded. Clips of her speech were everywhere, on news sites, social media, even projected on giant screens in Times Square. It was the final verdict that so many had been waiting for. For Diddy, it was a blow he couldn't dodge. The silence he had maintained so carefully had become a deafening roar of doubt and suspicion. Within hours, more brand partnerships quietly withdrew. Collaborators who once fought to be in his orbit began to distance themselves, not out of personal animosity but out of a survival instinct in an industry where perception was everything. Fans were divided. Some still refused to believe it, clinging to the image of the charismatic mogul they'd admired for decades. But others felt betrayed, as if the mask had finally slipped and revealed a truth they couldn't ignore. Social media was awash with debates, threads filled with heartbreak and anger. Oprah, for her part, didn't engage in the chaos. She had said her piece, and she stood by it. Her team issued a single follow-up statement thanking supporters for their messages and reiterating her commitment to truth. She didn't revel in the fallout, she simply moved on, her dignity intact. In the days that followed, the story began to settle like dust after a storm. New headlines emerged, fresh scandals took their place, but the memory of this one lingered. It wasn't just another tabloid drama, it was a turning point, a lesson in how a single voice could topple the carefully constructed towers of celebrity. For Diddy, the question remained, could he recover from this? Could the empire he'd built survive the weight of Oprah's words? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain, the world would never look at him the same way again. And for everyone else, fans, critics, the curious, there was a lesson too. That no matter how powerful someone may seem, the truth always finds a way to the surface. That sometimes, all it takes is a single voice, speaking softly but with unshakable conviction, to remind the world that silence is not strength, and the truth will always demand to be heard.